Hello. Hi. Welcome to Energy Literacy. This is Barbara Connor, your host. We've been making shows for off and on 10 years now about different voting issues and things we need to be aware of in the community. We like to reach out and bring you into the discussion. Right now we're talking about how to be more aware of where our energy comes from, what we use, and what to expect for the future. So we want a civil discussion, factually based. All right, let me begin by introducing my wonderful guest. I've really gotten to appreciate his many fine qualities. This is, go ahead, Simon.
Sure, yeah, I'm Simon Mahan. I'm a renewable energy manager for a nonprofit organization called the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy. I work out of home here in Lafayette.
Southern Alliance for Clean Energy.
That's right.
All right, and you have a particular area that you pursue.
That's right. My typical focus, my day job, is to work on wind energy issues throughout the South. So basically, a lot of wind farms are now being proposed in a lot of states, including here in Louisiana. And my job is to make sure that the correct information about wind energy gets to the public and our utilities and elected officials.
Uh-huh. So then that would be opportunities for utilities as well as for investors and for landowners?
That's right. That's right. There's a lot of folks involved in creating a wind farm. It's not just a one-stop shop, and it takes a very long time. But there's an awful lot of opportunities there. There's job potential and economic development potential as well.
Right, as well as building all that stuff,
Yes,
which
absolutely.
we could do here on our energy corridor
Yes.
of manufacturers. So you were telling me that windmills is that what we call them now? Windmills?
We call them wind turbines.
Wind turbines.
They don't mill anything. They generate electricity.
Okay, and they're like 600 feet high?
Yeah, so the newer ones, the technology for wind turbines has advanced rapidly over the past 3 or 4 years. And so part of that is making them taller. The higher you go up in the air, the better wind speeds you can get, which means that you can generate more electricity and produce electricity at a lower price, which everybody is in favor for.
Right.
And so
right.
one of the advancements is to make the towers, the pieces that hold the turbine up in the air, make that very tall, and then make the blades longer. And by doing that, the equivalent would be if you have a sailboat, for instance, to have a very tall mast and a very broad sail. It makes it a lot easier to capture the wind, even if the winds are fairly slow.
Right.
So that way you can generate more electricity.
Right.
And right now, the going ratio is about, for every 1 foot tall a wind turbine is, it can power about one average home, or creates enough electricity that could be used by one average home. So for each one wind turbine, you can generate about as much electricity as needed by 600 homes.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, that gives me a way to focus on it. And I see you brought a model. We
Yes.
have our show and tell here.
Yes.
So
Yeah, this is typically how wind turbines are
hold it
nowadays.
up a little higher.
There
Yes.
we go. This is typically how wind turbines look nowadays. They have 3 blades. This piece right here that holds the turbine up is called the tower. This box in the back, this is actually where the generator is, and this is called a nacelle. And this is the hub. So if you've heard a lot of wind turbine terminology, you may have heard of a turbine hub height. So this is the hub. This is how tall the wind turbine is up to the gearbox where the generator actually is.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I really loved was that you said I could buy a 100-foot tall wind turbine to put in front of my house and it'd power my house.
Sure. So there are different types of wind turbines available, and the ones that I typically focus on in my work, in my day-to-day job, are the utility scale ones, the very large ones.
Okay.
There is a separate sector of wind turbines called the distributed wind sector, and so these turbines are much smaller, and they're designed specifically for a home or a business. So whereas one large utility scale wind turbine may be able to power 600 homes, a single distributed or small wind turbine could power maybe a home or maybe a business, but they are quite a bit smaller.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That has been an issue that has come up more recently, is about homes and farms or whatever that are not necessarily off the grid, but very hard to reach
Yes.
the grid, and trying to get electricity there, because I think the farther you distribute the electricity, the more expensive it is.
Yeah, and especially if you have something like a camp out in the middle of the bayou, it's difficult for an electric company to get electricity to you. So it may cost thousands and thousands of dollars just to string a line to you so you can get electricity.
Right.
So one thing that folks can do is either have a small wind turbine in their backyard, or here in Louisiana, it's very beneficial to have solar panels instead. We have a very good solar resource and very good solar incentives here in the state.
Oh, right. You mentioned that we still have the good solar incentives.
Yes.
Tell me the figures. It was like $25,000 system.
Sure.
The Fed tax credit would be
30%. So the way Louisiana actually has some of the best solar incentives in the country, and a lot of folks simply don't know about that. But the way it works is you typically go out to a solar installing company or a solar installer, and they give you a quote for free to tell you how much it would cost to put a solar panel system on your home. And they'll even give you a cost estimate of what it would take, but then also what the incentives might be for you. So here in Louisiana, for right now, we have a 50% refundable tax credit.
And that's for the state.
That's for the state.
And I know there are companies here in the state too, so this helps the local economy
That's right.
as well.
That's right. And then on top of that, there's a 30% federal tax credit as well. So the way it happens is you can, typically the solar installers have some sort of financing available or a loan available where you can have a 0% interest loan, for instance, over 18 months. And so that gives you plenty of time to have the solar panel system installed and for you to get your rebates back from the state and from the federal government. And at the end of the day, a 30% reduction and a 50% reduction, you're really only out of pocket about 20%.
20%. And if I understood correctly, you said this was as though you were spending at one time what you would normally spend for maybe 4 years worth of electricity,
Right.
except that it will last for 20.
That's right. So solar in Louisiana is a fantastic return on investment. So it's much better if you have money sitting around in a savings account. You're earning a pittance on what you could if that money was instead invested on a solar panel system on your home. So my family, we purchased a solar panel system about 2 years ago, and the whole outlay for it was $25,000. But we got 20 of that back in the incentives, and so we were out $5,000. Overall, that panel system, that $5,000, is meant to pay for itself in about 6 years, and then the panels will last for 25. So they will provide electricity for 2.5 decades, and after year 6 or 7, then we're getting all this additional electricity that we invested into.
Right. And I understand, there is a system with LUS so that you're all hooked in with the system, and you sell them power when you have too much, and they sell you power when you don't have enough.
That's right. One of the main concerns about solar that folks have is, what happens if the clouds come out or if it's dark outside? Well, there's a policy that's used nationwide, and here in Lafayette, my provider's Lafayette utility system, it's called net metering. And what happens is when I generate more electricity with my solar panels than I can use, that electricity is sent out onto the distribution network nearby to my neighbors. And so LUS sells that electricity to the neighbors as if it were their own. And in order to account for that, they give me a credit on my bill. So during the nighttime, when my solar panels clearly aren't working, my credits revert backwards, and I start using the electricity that I had sent out on the distribution network earlier that day.
Of course, it might send you back to keeping farmers' hours.
Right. Yes.
Well, that's very interesting, and I think that there are some people who are taking that move. We talked about Germany, for example. They have been very creative in transitioning away from both nuclear and fossil fuels. I think that they have deadlines for ending both nuclear and coal. and then they're transitioning out of the others. You were telling me what percentage of the country is now solar?
So Germany is a very special country. They have incentives well beyond what we have here in the United States, and their electric prices reflect that. But that being said, the country has, in the past year or so, there have been hours during the year where they can actually generate about half of their electricity just from solar energy. And
Wow.
we don't hear about massive grid failures or blackouts or brownouts. It's now to the point that our utilities are smart enough that they can handle large fluctuations with renewable energy, and they can use that. They can harness the power of nature and use it to the benefit of society.
Right, all that engineering application, because of course they get what, a quarter or a third of the sun that we do.
Yes, it's minimal. They have a lot of cloudy days. They're a bit further higher up in latitude. And I think if you were to compare them to a state here in the United States in terms of sunny days and how much cloud cover and whatnot, it's something to the equivalent of Minnesota or Wisconsin. So quite a bit further north than what we are here down in Louisiana.
And all that engineering know-how. A small detail that I recall is I believe now, that was the goal, and I think it's already been achieved, that the Mercedes is entirely recyclable.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, I was not paid to say that.
No.
But it just, it intrigues me how different areas, different businesses have tried to look at where we are and where we want to be, and what are the money comparisons.
Sure.
It's the time and effort, and then the risk and the cost, and balancing the risk and cost. And I know one of the things that we have really wanted to emphasize in this series is our awareness of where energy comes from.
Yes.
And how much we use. And the interesting comparison that Lillian used, I just loved, was it takes petroleum to make a bicycle tire.
Yes. Yes, it does.
And then where are we going to go and have a strategy, not planning for the next congressional race,
Sure.
but really thinking the next generation or 50 years or whatever, and in order to have a strategy.
Sure.
A strategy. And I'll quickly break in and tell you my story. How to Win Friends and Influence People, which you may not have realized I actually read, by Dale Carnegie, reports as one of his tips is to meet regularly with friends whom you respect and who can share important information. And so it seems that once a week, Henry Ford met with his good friends, Firestone, Rockefeller, one other fellow I don't remember, and Thomas Edison. And so together they devised the system from which we still benefit, because an automobile in Detroit can't do anything. It needs the roads, it needs the gasoline, and then of course the inventiveness of the electric works within it that Edison could give. And so this talent core that just by meeting once a week, having a discussion, wouldn't have to be very long, that it builds this kind of creativity and imagination and really planning for the future. And so I say we need to continue doing that.
I agree.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's see now. We brought some show and tell. We both brought light bulbs.
Yes.
So I know a friend of mine looked at me and said, "Light bulbs? You're going to be talking about light bulb? Well, why not? We're talking about saving money, saving energy, and I know there are a lot of people who live in apartments.
Yes.
And they can't be putting solar panels on there. On the other hand, they'd like to save something on their light bill. So the light bulbs were one of the first things that we could consider. So what have you got here?
Well, I have our old school light bulbs. This is just your typical 60-watt incandescent light bulb. This is the one that everybody has the idea about and that everybody is well aware of. But this technology is quite outdated. And so one of the few things that folks really don't think about or haven't thought about too much is when you go to try to replace a light bulb and it's been on for quite some time, it's very hot and it can burn you. And what that means is that there's an awful lot of energy that is being transformed into heat energy that is escaping from the bulb. And that's a bad thing. That's a very inefficient way to light your room.
It's making heat instead of light.
That's right. And so instead of creating the light, it's creating the heat. And that's an additional force that your air conditioner has to fight against. It's like having additional candles lit around your house, just kind of randomly and having some additional light sources. So these light bulbs are quite inefficient nowadays.
And they're fragile. I want to tell you,
Yes.
It's not just that the glass breaks. If you shake it too hard, those little tiny wires start shaking around in there too, and it doesn't work.
That's right. And so that's when I'll use your bulb. That's when technology
Hold
advanced.
it a little higher for us.
That's when technology advanced, and we moved to something similar to this. This is a older compact fluorescent light bulb, or a CFL light bulb, and then this is what folks may be inspired by nowadays, kind of the corkscrew-looking compact fluorescent light bulbs. But these bulbs are a lot more energy efficient than the incandescent bulbs that I was just showing you. For instance, the bulb I just showed you was a 60-watt bulb, and these may be 13 or 15 watts. So you're saving about 70% of your energy by using this type of light bulb. Some of the common criticisms of these bulbs that folks don't like, that they've actually fixed over time. One of the criticisms was that they don't turn on immediately. Sometimes, even 10 years ago, you had to turn them on and wait for a certain amount of time, and then they would get fully up to speed.
Okay.
That has changed. A lot of these bulbs are now instant on, and so they provide instantaneous light. You don't have to wait for them to gradually warm up. And then one of the other common criticisms of them is they cast a different hue of light.
Yeah, it's too blue and gray.
Right, and so some folks are concerned about the light quality from these, but there are ways that you can determine what light quality would come out of this bulb before you buy it. And so two new terms that everybody needs to learn are lumens and Kelvin. Lumens references how much light actually is put out into the room. So more lumens means more light. And then Kelvin is the temperature of the color of the light. And you have a nice box here that I don't think you'll be able to see. But here's kind of a representation. Let's see if we can kind of show here. There's different shades from a reddish orange through a yellow to a white into a blue colored light.
And that's the Kelvin thing, which probably an interior decorator would understand right off.
Absolutely.
And say, oh, well, with that furniture, you have to use this color.
That's right.
And you had told me about the daylight is the color that a lot of people like for wintertime, and they want things bright and sunny inside. And there's some of those who say, it's too dark. Too distracting. Let's have warm white so we can sit and read and have a more conversational setting.
That's right. So for a more traditional color of light, you would want more of a warm light bulb as opposed to a brighter, bluer light bulb.
Right. The ones that I saw, in fact, distinguished that these are daylight bulbs and these are warm white bulbs.
Yes.
And I thought, well, that helps me.
Yes, absolutely. And then this is the next generation of lighting. This is a light-emitting diode, a LED light bulb, and this actually replaced one of my spotlights that I got in my kitchen. And so you can see they both have the same pins. They're both about the same size. The difference is this new LED light bulb actually uses about 90% less energy than this light bulb. And this light bulb was actually so hot that the metal ring that helped keep it into my light socket in my kitchen kept popping off.
Oh.
And so what was happening was the metal was heating up and it was changing size relative to where it was supposed to be and popping off.
Yes.
That doesn't happen with these
Right.
because there's no heat that comes out of these. And in fact, kind of the little gills that come off of the side of these LED bulbs help dissipate some of the heat that does come from the bulbs themselves.
Right.
So very cool to the touch, an instant on electric light, and a very good color. And some of these newer LED bulbs, they dim very, very well, but not only that, you can change their color.
Oh.
And so you can have any color of light that you would like under the sun.
Really?
Yes.
Isn't that something?
So this is now the future.
Yes, this is the future. Yes, just as I asked you about the wind, tell me about wind, and the future of wind. That was my question. What is the future of wind? And you said the future is now.
Yes, the future is now. We are living in very good and exciting times in terms of energy and electricity and how things are produced and how things are used. And this is a really great little program that the LUS actually has. You can go to any library within the parish and request a kilowatt meter. And that's what this is. They'll hand you a little blue box, and you can check it out for free for 3 weeks. There's 2 meters inside, and you can use them for those 3 weeks, and then you take them back to the library just like you would check out a book. But the meter is phenomenal because all you do is it's got a regular 3-prong plug in the back, and you plug it into a wall socket like you would anything else. And then it has a slot in the front that you plug in any appliance or gadget or whatnot into the front. And what'll happen is it'll start up and it'll tell you exactly how many kilowatts of electricity that particular appliance is using. And it's a phenomenal tool because if you go around your home, one of the major energy users in your home is your refrigerator. But there's really little way to find out how much energy your refrigerator is using without something like this. And so the kilowatt meter really can help folks figure out what is consuming a lot of energy in your home, and in this case for free, because all you have to do is check it out at your library.
Right. And you were saying that there are a lot of appliances now, and I've noticed this. In fact, I think most of the new ones are marked as Energy Star. Is that it? I see that on computers. Also, what was I going to say about LED? LED computer screens made a world of difference to me.
Yes.
And I remember televisions that had the bulbs and how hard that low pixel ratio was to view. It's amazing what's happening with light that we watch and with light that illumines our environment. And of course, I love all that creativity. I just think it's great. And I really want to thank you because I want to encourage, as I say, not only the discussion, which is so necessary, and that we not just start calling each other names, but that the innovation, the thinking of what can I do? What can I do? It might be different, might be better, might be prettier, whatever. And so I really thank you because I think there's so many different talented people in this city who just need to talk to each other and share some ideas and some history and some ideas about what's going on. So if people wanted to reach you, how would they do that?
So you can reach me through my day job at the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy by emailing me at simon@cleanenergy.org. But as I mentioned, I'm a local, so I'm sure you'll be able to find me somewhere.
cleanenergy.org.
O-R-G.
Okay, cleanenergy.org. Well, very good. Well, Simon, I can't thank you enough. You've really clarified some things, and we've got kelvins now to tell us colors, and lumens, I think you said, are based on the ratio of candles.
Yes.
Just like horsepower is related to what a horse would pull.
Right,
which
yes.
doesn't make much sense. I did learn, the reason railroad tracks are the width that they are, goes back to horses pulling a carriage, a chariot.
Huh.
Yeah, it's the same as a Roman road. The width of two horses pulling a chariot and then pulling a farm wagon and then so forth and onto rails. So you see how the traditions, the customs over the years affect our current technology. And then good old Mr. Watt invented the watt. And I think now you can do the arithmetic and figure out how much 10, 15 cents per kilowatt your electricity is in order to figure that out. One final point you had brought out that here in Lafayette, we are using coal to make our electricity to a certain percentage.
Mm-hmm.
What was
We get about 60 to 70% of our electricity from coal.
All right.
Here in Lafayette.
And you know, and here we are in the center of natural gas and petroleum. But anyway, there's a reason for that. There were some laws passed a while back that required that. So I want to say that it was necessary at the time.
Yes.
And so anyway, I want to thank all of you viewers for joining us, and I hope getting some ideas, and maybe you have some things you'd like to share with us, and joining in the conversation on energy literacy. You can, by the way, find that online. It's actually an educational website. It's not ours. We have no relation to it. But at any rate, Simon Mahan. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Barbara Connor. Thank you for watching us, and we'll see you on Thursday evenings and maybe some more.